Mr. Speaker and my colleagues, this is a trend, and it is very dangerous. A long while ago, we may not have known exactly what we had done or what we were doing at that time. It started small, and agencies responsible for its regulation didn't pay attention. When we would sit down in our homes laughing, looking at the screens, and we will be saying, Nnayi sacrifice. The Nnayi sacrifice has metamorphosed into what we find today as Yahoo and Yahoo Plus, where even a man will build a hotel and put 30 graves. What are those graves for? We do not know. Where the killings and dismemberment of humans have become very common sights all over the country. Mr. Speaker, I will allow my colleagues to also bring their perspective to this.
We should not only say something, we should do something. We see on social media, Mr. Speaker, where people even start to record heinous crimes like this. It bothers me that you find where a woman or a girl or another human being for that matter is being murdered, being harmed, and people still stand there with their phones to record without even trying to distract the perpetrator of such crimes. Mr. Speaker, my honorable colleagues, I want to beg of all of us to call on our agencies and institutions responsible for investigation, prevention, and enforcement to get up and do the needful. And when these things happen, we just don't want to hear that it has happened. We want to hear that somebody was prosecuted. Somebody had to pay for what they have done to serve as deterrent for others that will have this in mind one day to want to do this. Mr. Speaker, we want to call on our orientation agencies as well to do more, to bring this to the notice of Nigerians, our women, our girls, on how they can protect themselves. The red flags to look out for.
If you know that what is meted to you, is unacceptable to you, do not mete it to the other person, which equally will be unacceptable to you. But why our society is like this? We preach denominations and interdenominations and rivalry between religious leaders, instead of our religious leaders dedicating themselves to the ills of the society. They are now dedicating themselves in talking about one another, criticizing one another, one sect or another. So I want to call on them again. What is happening in our society? They need to put heads together to ensure that they have preached morality, that they have preached in such a way that the generation and the generation unborn will learn the etiquette of morality instead of behaving the way the society is.
This barbaric and inhumane practice not only robs us of innocent lives, but also undermines the very fabric of our society. We must act decisively to ensure that these heinous crimes are met with the full force of the law. Our justice system must serve as both a deterrent and a beacon of hope for the vulnerable. I call on this House to prioritize stricter legislation, improve law enforcement capacity, and invest in public awareness campaigns to eradicate the culture and silence surrounding these atrocities.
I think religious organizations and the National Orientation Agency, advocating them for public awareness is not enough. I could remember when Kano was on hot fire, Mr. Speaker, when the young Hanifa was murdered, followed by Kulsum, who was murdered by a foreigner. And those murderers are there in our custodial center, enjoying the government money, enjoying the food of the government. As mentioned by Right Honorable Abiante, one of them from South was given a scholarship to further his studies after murdering a lady. Mr. Speaker, I think what we should put more concern about is the implementation. Maybe revisiting the previous cases and ensure implementation so that such cases could not happen again in this country.
The second issue, Mr. Speaker, has to do with the need for us to enforce our rules, laws, and regulations, especially with regards to the hospitality industry. Mr. Speaker, this is about the only country I know in the world where you can lodge into a hotel without proper identification. It doesn't happen in any other place. You go into a hotel, you are profiled, your international passport or photo ID is taken and captured. In Nigeria today, you go to most of the hotels, they just allow guests in, and they use these places to perpetrate most of these killings in a manner that leaves little or no trail, onto the perpetrators of the act. So I think these two very important matters, deepening security, education, and awareness, as well as enforcing rules and regulations, especially in the hospitality industry, to ensure that persons that come into hotels and places like that are profiled, documented, and traceable, will help us a great deal to be able to prevent most of these cases from happening.
I wish to move that because of the importance of this issue, because of the critical nature of this issue, while the other committees may within a time frame submit a report to this House, after which they cannot go back to that same action, I want to move that the Committee on Compliance, which can monitor this issue through the life of this assembly, be added to prayer 4. I so move, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. I said the Committee on Compliance can monitor this matter in terms of compliance through the life of the 10th Assembly. And
but
so
what
for
I
that,
understand with Committee on Compliance is that a resolution has to be passed. If there is a failure from the relevant MDA, that's when Committee of Compliance comes into play.
Yes,
you don't involve them from day one at the point of passing the resolution. Compliance is supposed to be after a directive or a resolution is passed.
yes.
If the committee could not be able to get the MDA to do the needful, then compliance is now referred to continue engaging. So
Mr. Speaker,
based on our rules,
Mr.
they are not supposed to work in tandem with the committees that are supposed to do the investigation. The investigation has to be made, resolution passed. If it is not respected, that's one committee on the legislative compliance is supposed to actually start its own work. I was a deputy chairman of that committee in the 7th Assembly.
Yes, sir. Mr. Speaker, what I'm trying to insinuate is this. This matter is not completely an investigative motion. It is an emotion where facts and figures have been presented that has taken place in this country, and that the appropriate committees, as so recommended by the movers of this motion, is to the extent that you work with the MDAs to ensure that appropriate actions are taken within the time frame, Mr. Speaker. And within the time frame, Mr. Speaker, the committees so prescribed will be required to submit their report to this House. When the report is submitted, Mr. Speaker, this House will not be referring it back to compliance as it were. But if the Committee on Compliance is added to these committees that are working, even when the main committee so prescribed submits report, the Committee on Compliance, by dint of the responsibilities given to them, can continue to ensure that there is compliance in this all-important and critical issue that touches on the fabrics of Nigerians that have lost, the innocent lives that have been lost because of some desperacy of certain Nigerians who want to acquire whatever they want to acquire by whatever means. Mr. Speaker, we are trying to deal with a matter that is becoming a cankerworm in this country, and all that whatever that we need to do to ensure that we reduce this carnage that is rising. It is important that we use all available legislative time to deal with it. That is why I'm recommending and moving that the Committee on Compliance, which is going to, even after the reports have been submitted, which can do its work all through the tenure of the 10th Assembly, be added as my motion. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Well, let's hear the opinion of
representing Wase. Mr. Speaker, I want to lean and be on your own side. Yes, we want this matter resolved as quickly as possible, but when you have conflict of roles and interests as per our standing order, we may not achieve the desired result of what we want to achieve. So the right position is what you said, allow the committees to function. Thereafter, legislative compliance will come in if there is failure. Thank you very much, sir.
That is the way. Otherwise, legislative compliance will be in every resolution of the House, every motion. You cannot involve them until when the resolution of the House is not actually respected by the MDAs. That's when legislative compliance work is supposed to commence. Okay? Yeah. Thank you so much. So we put the question, any seconder, did we get a seconder to this motion?
Further
okay,
amendments.
Honorable Idris Wase has already seconded, so we put the question.
Further amendments. Further amendments.
Mr. Speaker, I just wanted to bring to your attention just that the statistics have been given and the resolutions as in this paper is hearing. But Mr. Speaker, one thing I think is missing here. Whereas the statistics are there, but there's a need for these committees that will be set up to look at what are the causes of these problems. They need to investigate, further investigation on it to find out the causes before the recommendation. But because if you go back and plan to look at the NJC to facilitate the expedition of the cases, what are the causes of this problem? There's a need for them to carry out. One of the prayers should be to investigate the causes of this.
So what are you amending?
Mr. Speaker, I want to add here that the House resolved fund to investigate the causes of this heinous crime. To invest the committees to investigate the causes of this heinous crime. Secondly, then that will be the first prayer to investigate the causes and make a recommendation. And that, based on that recommendation, that will now meet the National Judicial Council to go on. That's my prayer, sir.
Mr. Speaker, my amendment is on prayer 3, so that we will understand the reason for this amendment. I want to briefly lay some emphasis. Thank you very much, Honorable Oke, for emphasizing on the causes of these killings and the situation we find ourselves today in this country. Mr. Speaker, my amendment is to add the Ministry of Women Affairs in Nigeria.
The Ministry of what?
Women Affairs.
Okay.
In this orientation and education of our young girls. The actual causes of these killings, for me, there are basically two major factors, which I know the Minister of Women Affairs...
You are only making amendment, you are not discussing the subject matter. You are proposing that Ministry of Women Affairs should be included, right?
Mr. Speaker, I asked for the leave of the House to lay some emphasis.
No. We are only asking of amendment. Go ahead and amend.
My amendment is for the Ministry of Women Affairs, which have state also ministries, to get up to the challenges by developing a program to educate our young girls for their morality and guide themselves, because they are good.
Let me guide you a little.
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
Why don't you also include the Committee on Women Affairs among the committees?
Perfect. Perfect.
To at least liaise with NJC. Is that okay?
It's okay, Mr. Speaker.
Inclusion of Committee on Women Affairs among the committees to be referred to.
That's okay.
Any seconder to this amendment?
Thank you.
The Right Honorable Speaker, my distinguished honorable colleagues, Abdullah Ibrahim, Ali is my name. I am from Kogi State. I rise to second the amendment as moved by our colleague. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
This amendment should say aye. Those against should say nay. That is it. Emerogwa, amendment, right?
Please, my amendment is in respect of prayer number 2. My amendment is to add that where such heinous crime is committed in a private homes or hotels, such hotels should be destroyed or pulled down, demolished to forestall further.
Please, can you repeat what you said?
Yes. Such hotels should be demolished.
Repeat what you said, please.
Yes. As where such heinous crime is discovered to be committed in a hotel or private homes, such homes or hotels should be demolished.
So it's just an amendment to the wordings?
Yes, to the punishment.
Not under the prayers, right?
There should be steep penalty to those who has such a caprice.
Which one are you amending? Is it an additional prayer or an amendment of a prayer?
An addition to prayer 2.
An additional prayer?
Yes, to prayer 2. An addition to prayer 2.
So that is amendment of prayer 2 then?
Exactly, sir.
Isn't it?
Exactly, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
Any seconder to this?
Mr. Speaker, respected colleagues, as good as his own amendment may look like, sir, this act is a criminal act, and it is enshrined in our laws, constitution, and in the bylaws guiding the court's proceedings. We cannot amend our laws through motions. So I want to beg him to step down, only if he is interested to come with an official amendment. There are states who are doing this, but they have to come through enactment of law, sir.
Taking enough amendments?
Yes, let's say I withdraw the amendment.
It's okay, it's noted. Thank you very much. So those in support of this motion as amended should say aye. Those against should say nay. That is it. This motion is referred to the Committees on Judiciary, Human Rights, and Women Affairs for further legislative action.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
What's your point?
My point of order is on personal explanation, as I said. Yesterday, the 17th of February, in Kogi State, I was there. Dangote cement truck came with a speed and killed 15 students.
Honorable Leke, this is not personal explanation.
It's personal because as we are seated here, they are calling us from home.
This is a public issue, and we have already agreed that it will come under matters of urgent public importance.
Your Excellency will not be able to sit down again here because they are calling us from home that we have to come home.
But this cannot be entertained under personal explanation. It's completely out of the way. This is not personal to you or to the House. This is a matter of public importance, which is supposed to be treated as such. I'm so sorry.
Thank you, Your Excellency.